Hey, did you see that? Hmm?
The fallout of the SVB and Signature bank failures and subsequent scares is still unfolding. The failures emphasize the precarious nature of the tech and the financial economy and our dependency upon them. Not only did SVB's failure imperil tech companies directly, but also the livelihoods of the thousands of individuals whose income are tied to tech platforms, such as Etsy.
Silicon Valley Bank was the home of tech startups, the 16th largest lender in America, and held around $200 billion in assets. It collapsed on March 10th, the biggest lender to do so since the global financial crisis. Many of its deposits were larger than the $250,000 that is covered by federal insurance.
Let's say that they're a small to mid-sized company, they got $10 million in the bank, so they're gonna lose $9,750,000. Well, guess what's gonna happen? They're bankrupt instantly, right? They have no money, they literally have no money to pay anyone. So the next time payroll comes up, they have to tell all their workers, sorry, but you're all fired because we literally have no money. Tons and tons of jobs would have been lost. That's totally true.
Are you an Etsy seller and didn't get paid today? Neither did I.
Regulators stepped in to mitigate the damage.
Every American should feel confident that their deposits will be there if and when they need them.
Now, the part that nobody's talking about is that what's triggered all of this in the first place was that VCs stopped giving money to startups, okay? And part of the reason they stopped giving money is because of the interest rates in the first place. Higher interest rates leads to a different financial equation for whether you fund startups or not. So the startups had to use more of the money that they had in the bank. So now money's starting to go out of the bank, right? No problem, they put it in safe treasuries, as Anna told you, right? The problem is because of higher interest rates, the treasuries went up. The interest rates go up, and they're the ones that they have at lower interest rates, when they go to sell it, they lose money on. Exactly. They still get money, they still get assets, right? To be able to pay their depositors, but they've lost some amount of money from that. Then they are forced, because of the amount of money that they have lost because of this economic condition, to go raise a little bit more capital. That's when word hits the street and panic starts.
Exactly.
At that point, the same VCs turn around and they tell all their startups, get your money out of the bank. We got a run coming. And 42 billion pours out, and then
look at them yo-yos, that's the way you do it. You play the guitar on the MTV.
SVB served VC-funded tech ventures in the Valley. These same VC funds often required their startups to have an account at SVB, while SVB in turn required startup founders to pledge some stock as collateral. Such cozy relationships led a former bank VP to plead guilty to insider trades in 2015 and 2016. Of note, conservative media has busied itself blaming the bank's failure on woke policies, and I have to wonder if they really mean the bank's long history of interesting ventures and business practice, including risky mortgages in the 90s, its cozy partnership with Chinese banks and U.S. venture capital to lend to Chinese startups, notably privileged to do so in renminbi. Signature Bank served the crypto sector. It failed on a $10 billion deposit run in the wake of SVB's failure and the closure of another crypto-friendly bank, Silvergate. Silvergate's wind down and closure was intimately tied to the FTX bankruptcy. It also turns out that Signature was being investigated for failing to vet clients as money launderers. Tech bro and finance gods have been shown to be wanting.
I am Oz, the great and powerful.
They are negligent, incompetent, if not criminal.
Everybody is to leave here immediately. This cafe is closed until further notice. Clear the room at once.
How can you close me up? On what ground?
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
You're winning, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Everybody out at once.
And they are still given carte blanche. They are still swimming in money generated by QE while the Fed accepted their toxic waste onto its books as collateral. And every fiasco since has repeated this process. They get a new lease on life with a fresh injection of cash, care of the Fed, and pass off their financial waste to the Fed to play janitor. What is clear is too big to fail remains so. The finance sector, banks, and venture capitalists will always manage to slip the bonds of oversight inside a crash and are rewarded with fresh money in relief of their toxic waste as the consequence.
Overall, I'm worried about the general movement that the Fed is going in. So in the old days, the Fed's already a black box, right? So it's run by the New York Federal Reserve, which is run by the biggest banks in the country, printing money and giving it to themselves over and over again. They get, in the past, until the interest rates started going up, they get money for almost nothing, and then they charge you an interest rate for the loans, and they make the difference. It's free money. It's unbelievable, right? So, but now they started doing something more dangerous in around 2008 when the crash happened. They started buying things. The Fed buying things makes no sense, and I've had every expert in the world on this show and asked them, and they all go, I don't know what it means either.
I mean, Nomi Prinz has written about this extensively. She has done many talks about this that you can watch on YouTube. It's a disaster what the Fed has been doing. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, so they buy things, but they sell them. And so every once in a while, they'll come out and say, hey, you know, AIG, we got all of its assets, we paid people, but we sold it many, many years later, and we made money on it. The Federal Reserve made money on it. Yeah, but if the Federal Reserve can make money on something, you could lose money on something, right? And now it's got trillions of dollars on its balance sheet. I don't even understand what it means to have a balance sheet for the Federal Reserve. And by the way, neither does any expert in the world, okay? So what that means is if the Fed winds up losing a ton of money, what does that do to the dollar? What does that do to the economy? Since it's a black box that kind of prints its own money, no one knows. And it's the last backstop. And Ray Dalio, one of the greatest investors of all time, was here and he told us the Federal Reserve is the very last stop. If something goes wrong with the Federal Reserve, it's basically an absolute international calamity where everything melts down. So they're playing a pretty dangerous game over there.
Are you an Etsy seller and didn't get paid today? Neither did I.
The proposition I'd like you to consider is whether or not you want to continue living in the brave new world they say they are building. Because in all honesty, we are already living in it. For ordinary people, that's you and me, we get to live at the mercy of them and their failures. Often their bailouts are predicated on saving our bacon. And we could do better by removing that bacon from harm's way. It is our dependency on them and their ventures and corporations that leave us at their mercy. And the message is that these tech platforms, in fact, much of the economy, should be treated as a system of slavery. We gain our sovereignty and agency back by leaving them behind as much as we can. Further, it is in our interest to build ourselves away from them. Within the social media space, federated nonprofit systems such as Mastodon point the way. But we need equivalents for e-commerce, ones that can substitute for Etsy, eBay, Facebook, or Amazon. Yes, even Amazon. In regards to banking, credit unions are not part of the Federal Reserve System or global finance, and you might feel more secure about banking with them.
Are you an Etsy seller and didn't get paid today? Neither did I.
Your city or town could provide nonprofit internet access or a co-op within it. By owning our own platforms, ones that serve us, we remove ourselves from the clutches of these venal predators, and we get some distance from their disasters. Housing co-ops and nonprofits, basically non-market housing, would build for ourselves independence from predatory property ownership. And a stable low cost of living is a boon both to ourselves and to any business we enjoy shopping at. Hint, hint, small business. A car-free town or city design will save time, lives, money, energy, your town's financial solvency, and is a boon to local business. Are you listening, local business? And last but not least would be a local currency that could function if the rest of the U.S. monetary system falls to pieces. The other advantage is if you design it correctly, it will keep money in your community and not have it bled away to Walmart headquarters. Believe it or not, there are also local currency systems that are designed to be inflation and interest free. That means a system that is price stable, no inflation at the local level. Now, wouldn't that be a nice idea? I'll leave links explaining these kinds of monetary systems in the description because at the very least, it behooves you to know that there are alternatives in how money systems can be designed to be price stable. Because I think, especially when we all deal with inflation on a daily basis, the idea of a dollar or whatever denomination being able to buy the same amount of bread and cheese 10 months from now has a certain appeal to it. All of these are small measures that will take time and effort to organize and build. The advantage is that all of these measures can be had at the local level. But given the ever-increasing insanity of U.S. corporations and finance, maybe becoming independent from them only has upsides.